Welcome to This Explainer. I am so excited to have you here today because we're about to dive into a total crash course on the foundations of commerce. We're going to trace that incredible journey from a tiny spark of an idea all the way to a fully structured real-world enterprise. So whether you're dreaming of founding your own startup or you just kind of want to understand the economic engine humming all around us, you are definitely in the right place.
To kick things off, I've got a question for you, and I want you to really think about it. What do you actually need to make a simple, everyday pencil? Seriously, take a second and mentally break down this completely ordinary object. You've got the wood, the graphite core, the little metal band, the rubber eraser, maybe that iconic yellow paint. Suddenly, this basic little item doesn't seem quite so simple, does it?
Okay, let's dive into this. If you look at a basic pencil and then contrast that with the absolute behemoth of factory machinery required to actually produce it in volume, it's mind-blowing. Creating even the simplest product means coordinating resources, tools, and human effort on a massive scale. And honestly, that coordination, that's the very essence of what a business actually is.
So here is our quick roadmap for today. First, what is a business? Second, the factors of production. Third, creating added value. Fourth, the profile of an entrepreneur. And fifth, structuring your business. Let's start with section 1. What is a business? From idea to output. At its core, a business is simply an organization that produces or sells goods and services for money. Think of it as an engine that takes various inputs and arranges them into economic production. Ultimately, businesses exist to meet our needs and wants. Now, that could be a tiny local market stall, or it could be a massive global giant like Apple, Uber, or Amazon. But beyond just making a profit, businesses are absolutely crucial because they provide jobs and they pay taxes. Taxes that fund our public services, improve our roads, and keep our hospitals running. Moving on to section 2, the factors of production, the CEL acronym. So if a business arranges inputs to produce outputs, what exactly are those inputs? Well, there are 4 main resources used to produce any good or service. And to make it easy to remember, just think of the acronym CEL. C-E-L-L. That stands for capital, enterprise, land, and labor. Capital is your man-made stuff, like machinery, equipment, and tech. Labor is the human input, the workers, their specific skills, and their productivity. Now, what's really fascinating is how we define that third letter, the L for land. In the business world, land doesn't just mean an empty plot of dirt. It literally encompasses all natural physical resources. We're talking timber, gold, oil, water, or, for instance, natural rubber being tapped directly from a tree. All of those raw materials fall right under the broad category of land.
And that brings us to the E in our CLL acronym. Enterprise, or, entrepreneurship. Look, you can have all the fancy machinery, a huge workforce, and endless raw materials, but absolutely nothing happens without enterprise. Enterprise is that human ingenuity. It's that creative, bold, risk-taking spark that takes an idea and combines all those other factors of production to actually make an economic profit. Which leads us perfectly into section 3, creating added value, the magic ingredient.
Let's try a really fun thought experiment. Imagine I just handed you a completely plain, raw potato. What would you personally do to make it worth more money than it is right now? I mean, how do you take a plain old potato and make it valuable?
Well, whatever you just thought of, whether it was baking it, turning it into gourmet fries, or maybe extracting the starch, you were attempting to create added value. In economics, added value literally means selling an output for more than the combined cost of its inputs. It's that crucial pivot point where basic raw materials magically transform into profitable products.
And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. You take a raw, basic thing like a potato, you apply some human imagination, clever design, and a few bits of plastic, and boom, you've transformed it into a highly recognizable, valuable brand like Mr. Potato Head. You took basic inputs and exponentially cranked up their market value, just through pure creativity. In the real world, businesses add value by following some very specific steps. First, they apply skill and human effort to create something. Then, they build a desirable brand image. I mean, think about the price difference between a plain white t-shirt and one with a famous designer logo. They also offer uniqueness to a niche market, or they provide extreme convenience, like food delivery apps saving you a trip. And sometimes they add value just by offering absolutely stellar customer service, which totally justifies charging a premium.
All right, Section 4, Profile of an Entrepreneur, the Human Element.
So who actually drives all this value creation? Well, successful entrepreneurs usually share a pretty unique blend of traits. Just imagine a founder trying to launch a brand new, super competitive brand of gourmet potato chips. To pull it off, they have to be a passionate leader to fire up their team. They are inherently risk-taking, right? They're throwing their own money and time into a totally untested idea. They have to be incredibly adaptive when a rival pops up, but still deeply logical when doing the math on their budgets. And maybe surprisingly, they need deep empathy. They have to truly understand the needs of their staff, their customers, and their community. It takes a massive amount of hard mahi, or work, and a really open mind to navigate all of this.
And finally, Section 5, Structuring Your Business, the Legal Realities.
Let's transition from the fun, creative side of brainstorming into the strict, practical realities. Because when you actually start a business, you have to choose a legal structure. And your options range quite a bit. You could be a sole trader, meaning you and the business are exactly the same legal entity. You could form a partnership. You could set up a private or public limited company. Or you could even structure things as a nonprofit community group like the Red Cross or the SPCA. But here's the catch. Your choice of structure dictates your level of risk. And that brings us to a frankly terrifying concept for any founder: unlimited liability. If you're a sole trader or in a standard partnership, you generally have unlimited liability. That means you, the owner, are personally on the hook for every single debt the business has. If the company fails and can't pay its bills, you could literally be forced to sell your own house to cover those debts. Yikes, right? So the crucial point is understanding this exact difference. Let's look at them side by side. With unlimited liability, the owners personally pay all the business debts, period. But with limited liability, which is what you get when you incorporate a company, the owners are only responsible for debts up to the amount they actually invested. If the business goes belly up, you only lose the money you put into it. Your personal life savings and your home are safe. Forming a company provides this incredible legal shield of limited liability. It acts as a protective barrier, keeping the entrepreneur's personal assets completely safe from the arrows of business failure and debt. And part of turning your idea into a legitimate enterprise means playing by the rules of the economy you're operating in. That means picking a location, naming your business, researching local regulations, and, super importantly, registering your business with the tax authorities, like the Inland Revenue Department. Doing this ensures your business is legally recognized and that you are contributing back to the society that supports you. Wow, okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the core definition of commerce, through the CELL factors of production, to the magic of adding value, and finally, those crucial legal structures. So I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Look around you today. Using the capital, enterprise, land, and labor right there at your fingertips, what ordinary raw material will you add value to next? Keep an eye out for that opportunity because who knows, you might just build the next great enterprise. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer and keep on learning.